Finding the Voices.
Voices, talk show by Monica Iguodam.
I'm a huge fan of Finding the Voices.
You're doing a great job for Manipur.
Manipur bu prithivida masatak pa
good positive voices and make those voices more visible.
We wanted our voice to reach in all the corners of the world.
Interesting people.
Been finding
voices on
People from our own place.
Share positive stories and inspiring stories and bring out the good stories of Manipur.
Finding the Voices.
Welcome to Finding the Voices. Right now I am in Imphal and I am with Madam Irene Salam, who is a retired professor from Manipur University in history. Welcome to our show, Madam.
Thank you, Monica. I'm very happy to be here with you this evening.
And to start with, if you can share a little bit about, I would say more about your introduction, starting from your childhood, education, and how you landed in Manipur.
Okay, I think I have a very multicultural heritage because I'm born and brought up in UP, one of the biggest states in India. But by ethnicity, I'm a Goan.
Okay.
So I have a fusion of North Indian culture with Goan culture. That was in my childhood. And till I passed my post-graduation from Delhi University. And shortly after that, in 1974, I got married to a Meitei from Manipur.
Okay.
We didn't have a Meitei wedding. And at that point of time, I didn't really know very much about Manipur. I came here in 1975. Yes. So it was like a land, well, Sanalaibag, the land of gems. So,
right.
Expecting to find
before
something.
You got married, you didn't come here, you didn't visit?
No, I had never visited Manipur before I came here in 1975. And at that time, there was in fact no information or no sensitivity about the states in Northeast India.
Okay.
People in the rest of India actually didn't even know the states that comprise Northeast India.
Okay.
Or anything about the life and culture of the people. So I was actually equally blank at that point of time.
It was love that brought you here.
Yes. My husband and me actually were together for 5 years in Delhi University. Yeah, he was in St. Stephen's and I was in Lady Shri Ram College.
Okay.
And of course we opted for the same subject. We were both in history. We graduated and passed our masters at the same time from the same university.
Okay. So after you landed in Manipur, what happened?
Oh, well, it was, in a way, it was a total transformation and maybe a kind of rejuvenation because I had no idea about what Manipur would be like. And coming from a place like Kanpur, which has a population many times over that of the entire population of Manipur state, I found it a very tiny little space.
Okay.
And many of the amenities which I had taken for granted and never actually inquired into, when I came in 1975, I found there was a paucity of essential amenities like running water. There was no gas at that time and I had never seen these Petromax lanterns and things like that. So it had to be a total adjustment to adjust to the circumstances as they were.
Okay.
But since I had made this marriage out of my choice, I said, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. And so we set up our own house. We didn't stay in the ancestral house.
Okay.
No, my husband is the eldest son of the family. And we stayed in the same likai, in the same compound, but we stayed in a separate building,
Okay.
you know, so we were independent right from the beginning.
Okay, so
Yes.
you didn't have the additional gelling in and binding in and...
Oh, well, I thought, because I came from a family where we don't actually come from, live in a joint family system, and from a rather big house and residence in Kanpur, where we were one of the founders. My family was one of the founders of that city, where we have a road named after us and so on. So I had insisted that we should stay separately, because I think it's easier to bond with other family members if each of you has your own independence. And moreover, my husband and me, not only being different communities, we also profess different religions. So that might have become problematic if, you know, I were to stay in a joint family.
Okay.
Then lifestyle, patterns of eating, dressing, so on,
Okay.
were quite different to that of the Manipuris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did that work out?
Oh, well, in the beginning, my mother-in-law was there. She's from, as you know, the royal family of Manipur, Maharaja Churachand's daughter. So she thought that I would, she was very religious and devotional, and she would have liked me to, you know, join the pujas every day and so on. But I explained to her right from the very beginning that religion is something personal. And
personal
yes,
choice.
yeah, it's a personal choice, and I respect her religion. And she needs to accord the same respect to mine, because I'm not changing my religion. And I have not married her son because of a particular religion, but because of the person he was, and he has also accepted me as I was.
Right.
Yeah, so it would be better that, you know, this issue was resolved in the beginning, and I think it was resolved very amicably. She understood it very well, and in fact I had no problem performing my own religious obligations, being a Christian. And I think initially we were staying in Sagolband, and I probably was the only Catholic in that whole locality, you know. So everyone used to come out to see me going to church on Sundays. It was like, you know, something very different for everyone.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So how did you cope up with the language and the people and food and...
Well, in the beginning, the language was very difficult to follow because I had not been used to any of the northeastern languages. And this, since the Manipuris come from a Mongolian stock, and it's a Tibeto-Burman language, which I was not at all familiar with. Initially, I didn't try to pick it up at all because I had to get used to the sounds and nuances before I could figure out anything, you know. So I took my time about it.
Okay.
And fortunately, since all my sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws had been educated in missionary schools, they were all quite conversant in English.
So you didn't have the problem of immediate communication.
Yeah, so that problem wasn't there, except with my mother-in-law who didn't know English or Hindi. But with the rest of the family members, there was no problem at all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the food? I know that you stayed separately, but I just...
Yeah. Well, of course, we were cooking our own food according to my style, and it took me a while to adjust to Manipuri food because I had never eaten things like fermented soybean or fermented bamboo shoot, and initially it was also difficult to digest it because I wasn't used to that kind of food.
Okay.
But I did like many of the Manipuri dishes like uti and, you know, the other fishes like, you know, purung cooked with, yeah, those kind of fresh fish dishes and all. But it took me a while to get used to these, you know, particular herbs or fermented foodstuffs. Now I'm quite used to it, you know. So
it's an acquired
yes,
taste.
it's an acquired taste, yeah.
Okay,
Especially fermented fish.
Okay, so now you eat iromba?
Well, I don't eat aroma because I have a problem with chilies now. I have a stomach ailment, so I can't have anything too chili, and the aroma is always highly spiced.
Right.
So,
So how did your family take, your decision to move to a place where you didn't even know, and I'm sure they didn't even know anything about it?
Oh, well, my father had already died before marriage. My mother wasn't too happy at all, and she did question my husband at length about,
So there was a big interview before you guys got married.
There was a long consultation and interviews, and it took, a period of 2 years to convince her, that I was going to go to stay in Manipur, a place which was quite unknown to us, and we're not used to it. And we had never traveled to the northeast at all at that point of time. Yeah.
So, but was there at any point of time after you came, you thought that maybe I should not settle in Manipur, you want to opt to stay some other place in India?
No, I didn't think that, because since I had married out of choice, as I said before, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. So once I got adjusted and to the life and the conditions of the Manipuri people, I mean all communities, then I started looking around and decided that I wanted to start working, because I was not used to just sitting at home and thing. But since I needed a period of adjustment to Manipur, I took 2 years before I started working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my eldest daughter was born before I started working in the university.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you started
Yeah,
working.
then somebody approached me and said, in fact, that time Manipur University wasn't in existence. I was approached in 1977 and asked to, come and join the postgraduate center of Jawaharlal Nehru University,
Okay,
which
because
was,
at that time
yes,
it
it was a PG center of JNU in Delhi.
Okay.
So I thought, well, let me try. I had not thought of teaching as a career at that time. But I was approached by a friend and said, why don't you just come and try? So I went and worked as a guest lecturer for a period of 6 months. And then I found it suited me very well, perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the regular jobs were advertised by JNU, 6 months later, I applied for the job and I was selected. So I was selected in 1978. But then in 1980, we converted into Manipur University. And we didn't have the option of going back to JNU Delhi.
Okay.
But then since I was based in Manipur, it didn't really make any sense to go back to Delhi and join JNU. So I opted to, shift to Manipur University.
Okay. Okay. And you just got retired recently?
Yeah, I retired. My superannuation was on the 29th of February.
29. So it has been more than 30 years of
Yes.
you working in Manipur University.
Yes, more than 3 decades.
More than 3 decades. So can you share your experience in terms of the changes in infrastructure, also the student and any other specific things during your tenure?
Well, in the beginning, it was difficult lecturing the students, because I found their fluency and understanding of the English language was rather limited.
Okay.
And I remember in my first semester, I was asked to teach political thought, which is rather theoretical and difficult for students to follow, especially if they don't have this fluency in the language.
Okay.
So then I had to learn to take it very slowly and, repeat things so that they actually grasp the concepts and the ideas.
Okay.
But over a period of time, you get adjusted to their way of thinking
Okay.
and how they are translating from Manipuri into English. So you're speaking in English, but they are doing a translation from Manipuri into English all the time.
Okay.
So you get used to that technique. And after a few years, I found that each batch was in a way much smarter And
saw the progression
yes,
in terms of
they
the
changed,
grasp of the
yes,
language.
a grasp of the language, even the whole holistic education, because they were being exposed to new knowledge, new technology like the net, and now with the mobile phones and Facebook, and they were
social
downloading so much material and all. So of course, definitely they changed quite radically, And I think now they are at par with most of the students in any other part of India.
That's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
Monica, Finding the Voices.
Finding the Voices.
Finding the Voice.
I could see my father. Who came to meet my headmaster because he was unable to pay the fee. I'm sorry.
Because we need such story for people to have faith in the government and the system that yes, it's working. And
Let's bring peace in our home state, Manipur.
Who have got the job without bribery, they will do justice to their job, and they will help raise the standard of Manipur.
Me machine create I adu paraga tingogi.
Adivine, Rako.
So in Manipur particularly, I guess it has been going on for decades, but we see a lot of protests where students are being included, students go in the forefront of the protest. So did you see that from students of Manipur University? If you can share any experience on that.
Well, most of our students are again very active, both socially and politically. So yes, if they have a grievance or they want to sensitize people to a particular issue, they do hold regular demonstrations, and they have had many which have been successful. At one time, for instance, the student union was abolished, and just 2 years back, because of the persistence of the students, the student union has been revived.
Okay.
Yeah, in the university. So we now again have a Manipur University Students Union. Yeah.
Okay.
But for a long time there was no union.
Okay. But is it very often that it affects the schedule of the studies, or?
I wouldn't say the student demonstrations in the university have impacted the schedule of our classes. It has been more the endemic bans and blockades and strikes which take place in Manipur, which have actually disrupted our schedule. And especially for students coming from the hills and then have to come down to the valley, yes, from different places. So that has disrupted in many ways our schedule,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have read in the paper about many of the schools being closed during, some of the protesting period, but I was not very sure about universities.
No, that long period you're talking about when Rabina and Sanjita were killed. At that time, yes, the schools were closed for a period of, I think, 6 months, but not the university. We just had a few days, but we carried on classes.
Okay, so
yes, it didn't actually affect us. But for instance, now say you decide on an admission test, and suddenly there's called, there's a band called the day before. So, well, many of our applicants are from all the districts of Manipur. Then we need to postpone, and everything gets delayed, and see. So that has been happening on a regular basis.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can't anticipate when there's going to be a band or a strike.
Okay, so there is a last minute
lots of last minute adjustments, and yes, and then information we have to keep changing and putting it on the news, that the admission test is postponed, or this has been postponed. And
but
so
you haven't seen any improvement in this trend
of
of the impact in terms of this bun and
no, I think it seems to be on an increase, because people have now taken it, if there's any issue, the best way to resolve the issue is to call a strike or a bun.
So it has increased, and hence it is affecting
yes,
more
it
people.
does impact, because it also impacts mobility to the university and back, because if public transport is not plying, most of the students are coming by public transport, especially these autos. So if the autos are not plying, there is actually no way they can reach the university or come back either. So that definitely impacts.
So with this frequent bun and blockade, we see that the schedule of test or admission, what you're talking about, it's being impacted. So has there been any time where the examinations or anything has been postponed that we could not make up in par with the national level?
Actually, our exam schedule doesn't go along with the national schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, it's slightly different because it's adjusted to the circumstances here.
Okay.
And we usually have examinations during the vacations, so that even if something takes place, it can be adjusted to another day. Even in the last exam, we had to shift, the dates of the examination, but we usually have it during the summer and winter vacation. So that somehow it gets adjusted and we complete it before the classes are actually scheduled to begin.
Okay, so the people who have, whoever are taking any course, or they are actually completing it on time.
Yes, we complete it on time because many of us take extra classes if we have missed out.
But there are a lot of the teachers and professors and students working very closely, changing schedule and trying to meet it. But till now we have been able to finish the course as scheduled.
Yes, yes, we have been able to do that, make those adjustments, because everyone is aware that you don't know what tomorrow holds,
No, I am so, it's interesting to talk deeper and know how it works in the conflict situation, but yet, everybody is trying to work and move forward.
Yes.
Like for example, during the ILP, I interviewed one of the entrepreneur, and he was saying that there is bun and blockade during the daytime, so they would sleep during the daytime and they worked at night. So it looks like everybody is tweaking depending on the situation in Manipur, but the work and progress has not stopped in some way.
In fact, talking about entrepreneurship, like last year I went for the Northeast Annual History Conference, which is held in all the different states of the Northeast. So last year we had it in Mizoram. And I presented a paper on women entrepreneurs in Imphal, And I think in the last decade, what I have been observing is that many of the Manipuris who have been studying outside, no matter what community they belong to, or have been working outside and holding good jobs outside, have suddenly decided to return home and to actually set up their own enterprises here. And I think you must have noticed now in certain areas, there are a lot of new malls, of course not comparable to those in developed countries and so on, but I think quite suitable for Manipur.
Right, and it's a progressive.
Yes, and I think it's a sign of progress. And most of them are very successful. You know, many are selling like organic products. Somebody is going in for something which is again different to others, you know. So I think there's a lot of change in the mindset of people here, the young people especially. Now they're ready to take risks, even though a decade ago the atmosphere was not conducive to entrepreneurship. But despite the problems they have faced, they have now set up very good...
and it's coming up, and like you said, we see the changes, and I think it's very positive, and I'm sure there'll be more coming up which will...
Oh yes, I find that a lot of the young students who are just passing out have their own ideas now what they would like to set up and what they would like to do. Earlier they didn't really know, they only wanted to just sit for the civil service examination. But now that mindset is slowly changing. Of course, civil service examination is still a priority for most university students, especially from history, because almost every history student sits for the civil service examination.
Okay.
So, but gradually I have been telling them it's not possible for all of you to get through, no matter how intelligent there is a limited vacancies. So you just can't all get in. So you must think of some alternative. And what I really tell my students is this: if you can't use your education practically, even if you've got your doctorate, you're basically literate and not educated. So I kind of try to push them into doing something more positive. So a couple of days ago, one of my postdoctoral students came down from Ukhrul, and I had a long talk with him, and then I encouraged him that, you know, you get all your Tankul scholars there who have worked under me, and we'll you know, publish another 2 books, you know, on things that people there have written and their perceptions, you know, about on different issues. Of course, it would be basically historical again, but still, you know. So that's something in the pipeline which we hope to produce in this year, another 2 books from there.
Oh, that's very exciting. And that is from Ukhrul.
Ukhrul, so from one of my postdoctoral students who's, yeah, we would like to publish his PhD. So I would be editing that. He did his PhD from JNU, not from here. And he's just revisiting and revising it. So once it's over, I'll edit it again, and then we would give it to the publisher, you know. And then there are other scholars and college teachers who would like to write articles, research articles, which is actually now necessary to increase their API, the Academic Performance Index. Yeah, so this would give them an opportunity if we produced a book which has an ISBN tag, and then their API automatically increases. So we're trying to I'm trying to focus on that, you know, to help those kind of people now. Especially now that I'm retired, I'm thinking of actually working more with research scholars and teachers.
That's very exciting. So the essays, what you're talking about, it is obviously going to be relevant to different history and events in different part of Manipur.
Yes, for the most part.
For
the most part. But some scholars, like one of my scholars is actually working on environmental history of Shahjahanabad, which is the last city built by the Mughals in Delhi. Yeah, so that's a very different thing. Yeah, different topic. But she's a Meitei girl who's very intelligent, and she would be able to actually research in the archives and things in Delhi. So I had actually assigned her this topic.
That's very interesting. So talking about books, just before our prep, you did share about an upcoming book and some books you have published. Can you share a little bit about your books?
Yeah, well, the book which we're just going to release this month in March, I have edited this book. I started it as a project when I was head of the department, and I wanted all the faculty members and our research scholars to take part in the project, basically to improve the research methodology of our scholars.
Okay.
Yeah, so I took it up as a project, and now the book is ready for a release. We have asked the Honorable Speaker of the Assembly to release the book, and we hope to do it sometime this March. It's actually an anthology of historical essays written by different faculty members, including myself, and a number of our research scholars. Most of the topics are on Manipur, but there are a couple of topics which are all India.
Okay, that's very exciting. So I look forward to reading that book.
Please do it at Finding the Voices.